have no interest in being teachers. So if you're curious about taking the Access training that begins in October, I'm happy to answer questions for you after class. And then we've moved the dates of our Himalayan retreat. So watch out for some new dates. If the dates in September didn't work for you, we've got some November and maybe February dates coming up. That's our closest and most affordable retreat. Himalayan Institute is a very beautiful, naturally beautiful and relaxing space. And then they have a more classical approach to yoga. So they do about an hour each day with us on our selection of topics to share just aspects of yoga that maybe we'd like a deeper dive in, but don't really experience all the time here. Hi, Philomena. All right, let's get ready to begin. Come into child's pose. We've got the next hour and a half together. I think that's one of the most luxurious things about a Sunday is just enough time to be on your mat and move through whatever you have been experiencing for the last days and get yourself into the space of a clearing or an emptiness, ready for whatever comes up as you move through the coming week. Start by taking a deep breath in. Open up your mouth, sigh, and allow for a clearing to be what you're experiencing right here. And you're welcome to sigh as many times as you feel inclined to give yourself a sense of dropping into yourself, ready to have an experience of going inward in order to come out. On your next inhale, lift your body up into downward facing dog. Begin to bend and straighten your knees and discover your body as it is right now. And work with it physically, emotionally, whatever you're experiencing, step into it, press into it, lead into it. Bend and straighten your knees, maybe tippy toe and stretch your toe knuckles. And get your breath flowing on your own with yourself to the rhythm of your movement. And then with the others in the room, at home, practicing this practice in the future. Inhale and tippy toe way up high on your toes. Stay tippy-toed. Now exhale, bend your knees and hover your knees down at ankle height. Inhale, lift your hips up high. Exhale, press your heels toward the ground. 2 more times. Inhale, tippy toe, fill up. Exhale, bend your knees and hover. Inhale, lift your hips up high. Exhale, press your heels 1 more time. Inhale, tippy toe. Exhale, bend your knees. Inhale, lift your hips. Exhale, press your heels. Take another breath in and really fill up. Open your mouth and sigh. Look forward and step up to the front of your mat. When you get there, lift halfway and with your exhale, hang down. Set your gaze and keep your breath flowing. Then organize your feet. By that, what I mean is for many of us, our toes turn out a little wider than our heels. That puts a tightening or a compressing in the back of the pelvis and lower back. Explore opening your hips just a touch wider, your heels just a touch wider than you typically do. Just your heels, not your toes. And then see how the weight is in your feet as you hang here. Organize your feet so that you're pressing evenly in all 4 corners of your feet. Now steady, steady breathing. Let your head hang down, your shoulders hang down. Just steady breathing. Smooth out your breath. That there's just a very smooth end to each inhale and exhale that flows through the pause into the next beginning. A little bit different from gasping some air in and holding it and then gushing it back out. It's very smooth and steady. Keep your smooth and steady breath flowing. Take another inhale. As you exhale, press your feet down, come rolling up to standing, 1 bone at a time. Then sweep your arms overhead, look up and stretch, and bring your hands into prayer position. Now settle your gaze at some point in the room, one still spot, and let an intention come up. Make your intention as a declaration, I am, and the word that you place after I am, something that's kind and loving. We'll create a clearing together by chanting Om 3 times. Take a deep breath in. Om. Inhale, reach up. Fold to the floor as you exhale. Inhale, lift halfway. High plank to low plank, steady exhale. Now inhale, slow and steady up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths, breathe in, steady breath out. 2 more, inhale and exhale. Here's the last one, breathe in. On the exhale, bend your knees, look forward and jump. Halfway lift, smooth and steady. Forward fold, press down, stand up, look up, reach up, fold to the floor, smooth and steady. Halfway lift, high plank to low plank as you exhale. Then inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. So as I offer to you this quality of smooth and steady, it lives inside of the principle of balanced action. Creating Sthira Sukha Asanam is the Sanskrit for it. One more time, breathe in. On the exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, inhale, forward fold, press your feet. Inhale, stand up, reach, fold to the floor as you exhale. Inhale, halfway lift, steady. Exhale, low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, and breathe. Now, you might naturally have come into the room breathing a little bit of a shorter or choppier breath today, and that's okay. And then some of you want to go real slow, but together we're building a smooth, steady, even pace. Here's the last breath. Inhale. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Inhale, halfway lift. Forward fold, press your feet, stand up and reach. Heels press, fingers reach, fold to the floor. Inhale, lift halfway, press your heels. Low plank as you exhale and empty. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breathe in, steady breath out. 2 more, inhale and exhale. Here's the last, breathe in. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. Inhale, stand, extended mountain pose. Fold to the floor as you exhale. Balanced action. Press your heels, lift your chest. Low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Long, steady breath. Exhale. Anytime you need to, take a breath with a sigh if that just helps clear some space. Here's the last one. Inhale. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, soft and easy. Forward fold. Press your heels down, stand up and reach. Fold to the floor as you exhale. Inhale, halfway lift, low plank. Upward facing dog, take your time. Downward facing dog. 3 breaths. That upward dog, once your breath gets really moving, but we're kind of holding it back a little, the upward dog can really feel like one of those chances where you're just gulping for air. 1 more breath in. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. Stand up and reach. Lift and fill. Now fully empty as you fold. Halfway lift. Steady empty to the low plank and hold it. Now smooth and steady upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Really good. Take a sigh here. Maybe lengthen the base or widen the base and take up the space you've just been creating with these sun salutation A's. Now let's work together. Take 1 more breath in wherever you are. Inhale. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Chair pose, sit back. Reach your arms. Fold to the floor. Halfway lift. Move to the low plank. Upward facing dog. Inhale. Downward facing dog. Now right foot forward and lunge. Inhale, take your fingers to the ceiling. Exhale, hands back to the floor, low plank. Upward facing dog, smooth and steady. Downward facing dog, left foot forward. Inhale, look up and reach. Hands to the floor, chaturanga, empty. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Now spread your fingers out wide and press the knuckle of your pointer finger into the mat and really create a powerful foundation. Balance the action from placing your hands into the mat, pushing them down, and reaching your hips up and back. Create a balance there. Hands down, hips up and back. One more time, breathe in. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, flat back, soft knees, and fold. Chair pose, sit into your heels and reach. Fold to the floor. Halfway lift, soft knees, low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, right foot forward and lunge. Now anchor the back edge of your back foot. Hands down to the mat, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, left side step, deep lunge, press your back foot edge, hands down, chaturanga and empty. Up dog, downward facing dog. Take a sigh if you need a sigh. Just stirring things up, churning things up, and moving them on, and then inviting in and creating what we want to be left with. One more time, inhale. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, soft knees, fold. Chair pose, sit in your heels and reach. Fold to the floor. Halfway lift, drop to the low plank and empty completely. Then inhale, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog, right foot forward lunge. Inhale, lift the pit of your belly. Hands down, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Keep the balanced action. Left foot forward, inhale and reach. Hands down, chaturanga, empty. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, breathe. Sigh if you need it. Now know that on any of those push-ups, you can put your knees on the ground. First and foremost, we'd like to have form, shoulders back, belly strong, then to have just the toes on the mat. Take another breath, empty it, and jump to your hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Chair pose, reach, fold to the floor. Press your heels, halfway lift, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, roll over your toes. Downward facing dog. Take your time. Right foot forward and lunge. Inhale, fill your lungs, reach. Hands down, chaturanga. Slow and steady, empty. Up dog, down dog. Left foot forward. From the pit of your belly, you lift and reach. Hands down, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Breathe. Now, as you look back at your heels, here's another opportunity to discover, can you see them between your feet? If so, keep your toes where they are and open your heels just a little bit wider. Balance that you're holding your feet in alignment and you can feel the weight evenly from your big toe to your little toe. Take another breath. Exhale and empty, bend your knees, jump. Last one, halfway lift, forward fold. Chair pose, it's in your heels here. Fold to the floor, keep pressing your heels. Halfway lift, still in your heels, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, right foot forward, lunge. Inhale, reach up, lift your back foot's arch, hands down, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, left foot forward, lift your back foot's arch, hands down, chaturanga. I saw that, Jen, you got it. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Now, just one big breath and a huge sigh. Raise your right leg into the air, bend your knee, heel to your hip, and flip it over. Keep your breath flowing. Steady breath, this balanced action, balanced movement and stillness. The stillness is something you can create with your breathing. While your breath is flowing, if it's smooth and steady, it just gives you that still point of reference to build every pose up and out of. The pit of your belly drawing in helps to do the same. So draw the pit of your belly into your body toward your spine and feel like you're lifting it also up to your chin. Keep that, then float to the side plank. Right hand down, face the long left side of your mat and stack your body up. Now stretch from the blade edge of your right foot on the floor all the way up the outer side of your body to your armpit of your right arm. Make that area as long as it can be and breathe into it. Super strong in the pit of your belly. Draw it in. Draw it up to your chin. I saw that, Missy. Keep that. One more time, reach up. Strong belly, high plank to low. Control the movement. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward, crescent lunge. Keep your breath. Set your gaze. Steady body. Steady breathing. Now stand on the ball of your back foot. It's different from the flat warrior foot. Now you're on the ball of the back foot. Without even taking your eyes back there, just using your internal felt sense, balance the weight in your back foot from the knuckle of your big toe all the way out to your baby toe. So if I only feel the weight in my big toe, to balance it, I'll have to bring my right hip forward. For you, your left hip. Square hips, deep lunge. Now from the pit of your belly, lift up and go back. Stronger legs from the pit of your belly, lift up and go back. Hands to prayer. Twist. Left elbow to your right thigh and keep breathing. If you need to take a sigh just to clear some space, take the sigh anytime. Once your elbow is settled, a little more buoyancy to your left hip. Lift it in the air a little higher and draw the right hip back. So left hip up, right hip back. Now 3 more breaths. When you inhale, stretch from your back heel to the crown of your head, then twist. Stretch from the back heel to the crown of your head, then twist. We've got one more stretch. Now ring it out. Crescent lunge, set your gaze. Warrior 2, keep breathing. Let yourself settle. Just keep breathing and let your body settle. Just keep breathing and get settled physically. Now start to feel from your feet up through your knees to your hips to the pit of your belly. Organize your pose. Steady breath. You've recovered now, even though you kept breathing and even though you hold the pose, you've gotten some recovery. Stretch your arms apart. Tilt for extended side angle. Keep your breath. Keep your gaze on one point, and that brings the steadiness. Your arm can be in front of your knee, pushing your knee, right to the floor. Reach, that's it, Aaron. And use your arm to just push your knee back towards your baby toe. That's it. 2 more breaths. Reach up or reach forward. Here's the last breath. Breathe, then high plank to low. Steady breath. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now let's take another sigh or 2 and just create a clearing. Can you feel that sense when you take the sigh that you settle down a little more? Maybe you feel the room settle down a little more. Next inhale, left leg in the air, bend your knee and flip the pose over and keep your breath flowing as you go through the transition. Steady breath as you move through the transition. Let yourself land and then just start to work with how your body showed up and create balanced action. How will you do that? You'll just notice 2 points in your body. Pick 2. It doesn't matter. You won't get it wrong. And then create a balance of effort and ease between those 2 points, whatever that means to you. And then as we get ready to move, we'll need a foundation. So that'll be the pit of your belly. Pull it into your body. Keep breathing. And up to your chin. Go on forward. Go side plank. That was a lot of sustained gratification or denied gratification there. Now that you're here, get the length in the lower side of your body from the blade edge of your left foot all the way up your side body to your armpit. How will you do that? Well, press your heels one direction and reach your head the other direction. Press a hand to the floor and reach a hand to the ceiling. Equal and opposite action. You got it. Work with it. It's not going to be perfect. Not if you're working with it. Now, strong pit of the belly. Easy breathing. High plank to low. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Left foot forward. Crescent lunge. Arms overhead and set your gaze. Let yourself get settled here. Right inside of the pose. Now, sometimes we just have to come out and completely do a reset. But starting to build that we can balance the action through the transitions, we start to become a master of energy. Dealing with it when it's high, bringing it a little lower. Deep, deep lunge. Deep lunge in your legs. Then from your deep lunge in your legs, reach up for the ceiling, like you're pulling yourself out of your legs. Deeper lunge. Reach up and go back. That's it, Henry. Now, while you're in this back bend, stay with it. Balance the action here in your back foot. Put some pressure in your baby toe knuckle in this deep, deep lunge. Beautiful, Candy. One more breath. Hands to prayer and twist. Right elbow, left knee. Keep on breathing. Steady breathing through this transition. Keep your breath steady, and through your breath, discover the pose. Now, left hip back. That's it, Ashley. Right hip up a little higher to the ceiling. You'll get that by pulling your left hip back. So lunge deep L. I know your leg's getting tired. Fire up your back leg, and then stretch long. Inhale long. Exhale, twist. That's it. Heel back, chest forward, twist. One more time. Heel back, chest forward, twist. Good. Crescent lunge, reach up. Set your gaze. Keep breathing. Warrior two. Keep breathing. Eyes on one spot. Keep breathing. Let your body settle through breath. You got this. Keep the breath flowing. Stretch your arms wide. Tilt for extended side angle. You're a little too long, Jen. You're probably sliding away. Yeah. You can wet your mat a little bit if that would help your feet from sliding. So keep the breath flowing. You can press the back edge of your back foot into the mat, but suck its arch and inner seam all the way back up to your center line. Yes, deep, deep lunge. Stretch your arms in two directions. 2 more breaths. That's it, Charlie. Chest to the ceiling on this last breath. Hands to the floor for chaturanga. Balanced action. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath, open up your mouth, have a sigh. Press your hands down into your mat as you breathe. And equal and opposite, pull your hips up and away from your hands. Hands into the ground, hips up and away from the ground. One more time, breathe in. On the exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, keep breathing. And fold, chair twist to the right. Keep breathing, sit back. Hands to prayer and twist left elbow to your right knee. Keep your breath flowing. Once you get your elbow settled, work with how your body has shown up. Sit deep, keep breathing, and reach your hips to the back of your mat. While your hips reach to the back, reach both knees, especially your right knee, to the front of your mat. Now, as we're here, inhale from your pubic bone to the notch of your neck, stretch long. On the exhale, twist. Inhale, stretch long. Exhale, twist. Got one more. Inhale, stretch long. Exhale, twist. Chair pose. Keep breathing. Forward fold. Maybe take a sigh. Keep breathing and organize that you hook your big toes and stretch down toward your toes. Keep on breathing. Sigh as many times as you need to. Now, as you look at your feet, keep your toes where they are. And for many of you, open your heels just a tiny bit wider and keep breathing. Do you feel how your lower back opened up a bit just by opening your heels? You can shake out your shoulders and your head, let it hang. Maybe take a sigh here. This is a pose put in this place for you to recover. For you to let go of what you've stirred up in the work that we've done and come into a clear space. How would you be in a clear space right now for you? What would that feel like? Would you be doing? Do those things. Chair twist the other direction. Keep your breath steady as you build the pose and twist. While you're here in the pose, you maybe will just drop your gaze, look down to the mat, look at your feet, and open your heels, not your toes, just a touch wider. Then what is it to pull your right hip back while you stretch the crown of your head forward? 2 points in opposite directions. Inhale, stretch long. Exhale, twist, sit deep. Inhale, stretch long. Exhale and twist. Now strong belly for the last one. Inhale, stretch long, strong belly, keep it. Twist, reach up to the chair pose, forward fold and keep breathing. Palms under your feet for gorilla pose and a steady breath flowing. You can feel how as you soften your breath, it starts to soften and settle the energy. Start to allow your body to adapt to the work that you just did. When you come into our second level of training, we call Empower. We work a lot with the dynamic of the tension and the release, the building and holding of energy, and then bringing it down carefully without just dropping and crashing. And you're doing that. You're building balanced action through your breath. You're using your feet to physically create balanced action in your practice. Take another breath. Have this last exhale here. Keep on breathing, create the crow pose, any variation. So you've got goddess squat, standard crow, crow sitting down, crow on your back, a million choices. Get into it while you're breathing. Keep your breath steady. And then see what there is to see in this pose for you as you've taken it today. 5 more breaths. Smooth and steady. You've got 2 more. On this last one, finish in chaturanga. Upward facing dog, inhale. Downward facing dog. Now, some of you will need an extra breath or 2 to get here, and we'll wait for you. When you get to the downward facing dog, let's take a sigh together. Deep breath in. Open up your mouth, sigh, bend your knees, and move up to your hands. Halfway lift. Forward fold, press your heels into the mat. Come rolling up to standing, sweep your arms overhead and set your gaze. Right side eagle pose, wrap your right arm, wrap your right leg, and steady breathing. Pull the pit of your belly into your body, especially right here in the front of your pelvis. Pull that into your body. And then lift it, like you're lifting the front of your pelvis a little more up to your chin. And when you do that, sit down deep. Yes, I just saw that, Ashley. So the whole center gets long and lean. Now you want to keep breathing. You'll find when you're holding the pit of your belly as your foundation, breath gets forced wide into your side body and into your low back ribs. And then, of course, still in your upper chest as most of us usually breathe. Keep your breath flowing and your gaze set. Step out, left side eagle pose, eyes set. Try to stay in the practice as you transition from pose to pose. This is one of those easy learning points. If you were able to see the room from the perspective of the teacher, like we're looking around and not practicing, you'd see this is one of those spots that we give ourselves a quick, easy check out to just kind of like zone out and zone back in. So try this transition. Keep your gaze, keep your breath. Step out, right side, right arm under, right leg over. Go right into it with your gaze still set and your breath still flowing. Now, it happened however it happened. No failure, no success. And from what you created, is there something new to be created the next time? Maybe you just didn't even realize the automatic checking out. It took me a long time to realize this. So eyes on the one spot and your breath steady. Step out. Left arm under, left leg over. Just go with the tension. Your body knows how to do this physically. So see what you can discover energetically. Now, as you're breathing here in the pose and you're physically in it, create a balanced action in this pose. A balance between effort and ease physically or in your breathing or in your attention. How would it be for you? Keep steady. Keep your breath and gaze. Step out. Hug your right knee into your chest and keep breathing. Smooth and steady. What would it be to just stay with it? Even if you take a whole break and you take a water break, that's fine too. Just keep your breath flowing. Now hold your foot and extend your foot forward. Open up the back of your leg, the back of your body on the right side and breathe. You can use a strap or a towel to hold your foot, but keep on breathing. And then just work with whatever shows up. Some days I get into this, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did it get that tight again? Of course, I feel it in the back of my leg, but now I've gotten enough practice that I feel it in my back too. Open your leg to the right, look and reach to the left, and just keep breathing. Keep your breath flowing. Lift your shoulders up to your ears, move them to the back of your body so that from your heel pressing down to the center of your chest, reaching up, the crown of your head reaching up, you feel long and lean. One more breath. Bring your leg forward, hug your knee into your chest and set your gaze. Steady breathing. Open up to airplane pose. Reach back until you think you feel your foot almost standing on the wall behind you. As you breathe, just make a connection to that in your imagination, that your foot is standing on the wall behind you. If you've got the belly lifting enough, you might even be able to drop your chin and have a peek at the foot behind you, or just continue to go with your felt sense. Keep breathing. Do you think your toes are pointing straight down? Try for that in your back leg. Good, a lot of nice adjustments. Hands to prayer. Half moon, left arm down, right arm to the ceiling. Now press your foot, your lifted foot, like it's pressing into the wall behind you. Kyle, you're almost even there. Becky, you're almost there. Just press into the wall behind you. That's it, Paige. Look up and reach up. Press with your lifted leg foot. Pull the pit of your belly in so that the whole pose feels so grounded. You're free to reach. Keep breathing. 2 more breaths. Stay with it. Stay with it. Forward fold and hang. Sway from side to side and just feel what you feel in your body. How does it feel physically? How does the energy occur to you? What does it seem like? Come on up to standing. Hug your left knee into your chest. Take a peek at your standing foot. I know for me, if I don't pay any attention to it, it's going to end up turning totally out like this. So if I find a line on the floor of the mat, I can work to bring it in. And once I get it lined up, I can feel the sense of it hugging into an imaginary center line. Hold on to your left foot and extend your left knee forward. And imagine that this standing leg is hugging into a center line and the kicking leg is hugging into a center line. And you just stand up tall. Steady breath. Open your leg to the left. Look and reach to the right. Keep breathing. Steady breathing. You may even discover you're still connected to the center line in your imagination. Keep breathing. Hug both of those. This one too. One more breath. Bring your leg forward. Hug your knee into your chest. Stand tall. Airplane pose. Steady breath. Steady breath. What's available for you right here in your body? If your mind has checked out, you're always able to check it right back in by getting curious and interested. Press your kicking foot back like it's standing on the wall behind you and point its toes straight down to the ground. You'll have square hips when you do that. Hands to prayer position. Perfect there, Roy. You got them right straight to the ground. Right hand down, right. Left arm up. Press your foot back, your lifted foot back. That's it. Like it's standing on the wall. Strong pit of the belly. That's it. A few strong breaths. That's it, Charlie. Breathe. One more breath. Forward fold and hang. Sway from side to side. That sometimes is the best feeling, that pose, when it's been so big and complete. All right, come on up to standing. We'll take our 2 sets of standing bow pose. So your right arm bone to the back, forearm open, palm face out. Hold your ankle from the inside, left arm in the air, and start with your knees together. Set your gaze and bring your breathing. Start to kick. Kick forward and back. Make a forward and back pressure. Let your right arm be pulled behind you as you bring your right side of the chest a little more forward. Now press down into the mat with a balanced action with all 4 corners of your standing foot. All 4 corners, even the big toe. Then drive the 4 corners of your kicking foot up to the ceiling. See if in your imagination you could imagine your kicking foot standing on the ceiling and find balance from that. 3 more breaths. That's it. Feel the pose by breathing. Stretch, stretch, kick. Come on out. Feet on the floor. Left side, left arm bone back. Open your forearm. Bend your knee and hold your ankle from the inside. Right arm in the air. Set your gaze and begin your pose. Start to build it breath by breath. Standing foot, start to feel like all the corners sink down into the mat. You'll need a soft standing knee. And then that the kicking foot, it's pressing into the ceiling. And then both sides of your inner thighs are hugging in, hug Ashley, right there. Like they're pressing into the center line. Kick back and up, but keep the center line. Yes. One more breath. Step out. It's kind of weird, but did you feel more control with it? A little? We'll do a second set. Right arm back behind you. So you've got all the discovery from the first set, and that's going to give you access into new things in the second set. Start to kick and reach. That little hop, try to see if your foot will stay with the forward and back. The little balance hopping starts to have your foot taking over and saying, no, I won't be forward and back. Breathe. Now, balanced action refers to a balance between effort and ease. Sometimes I can get into this pose and it's all effort. I'm just pushing and working so hard. But can you discover where it's also soft? And balance the effort part with the ease part. Could you hold it for 5 more breaths? Your brain totally came in as like, no. Finish the last breath and then step out and build up the second set, second side. I think this pose is one of those miracle maker poses. It's just one of those that if you get enough time in it, and it's usually more time than you want, that's enough usually. Nice eye roll, Kyle. If you get enough time in it, it takes you somewhere new. So just let yourself be okay with building it through your breath, through your gaze. We've also used your foundation, so your feet in the pit of your belly. Then once you got to what you thought might have been the end or the edge of the pose, start to look for some ease, some space for letting go. And how can you have that but also have effort? Stay with it. Stay with it. Drive the big toe of the kicking foot up. Stay with it. Stay. 5 more breaths. You got this. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And step out. Feet on the floor, maybe hands on your hips, eyes to one spot. You could also soften your knees and put your hands on your thighs. Just recover your breath. Tree pose, left foot on the ground, right foot to your left inner thigh, and make it a hugging into the center line of the inner thigh to the foot and the foot to the inner thigh. Hands, press your palms together. You could do just the 10 fingers together or the whole palm. Settle your system with this pose. Stay here. Interlace your fingers, press your palms forward and take your arms overhead and reach up and out of the pose. Lift up and look up. Another breath, open, and then arms down. Switch sides. Right foot down, left foot up. So thigh to the center line, foot to the center line. 2 equal but opposite actions. Palms together. Let your whole system settle. Engage the pit of your belly. Interlace your fingers and press your palms forward. Engage the pit of your belly, opposite of your palms, pressing, then up. You can look up, can lift up. Stay right here and just breathe into the sides of your rib cage. Just reach and breathe and fill up the sides and soften. One more time and soften. Step out. There's stuff to do and discover in the poses. We might spend a lot, like 99% of our practice time, just building and learning poses. And then there's a whole other world in the poses. Come to the fronts of your mats. You're doing a great job. Inhale and stretch your arms overhead. Fold to the floor as you exhale. Inhale, lift halfway. Low plank on your exhale. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Right foot forward, triangle pose. So back foot flat, front foot pointing forward, fingertips of your right hand like tent poles. And then drive your right foot into the mat. And opposite, your right sitting bone up and back. Can you create that this whole inner thigh seam of your right leg is stretching? Once you get that, if you pull the pit of your belly in, you'll also maybe feel your lower back stretching. Look for the opportunity for growth and change in your own body. Then chin near your top shoulder or near your bottom shoulder. Steady breath. One more. Come on up to standing. Turn to face the long left side of your mat. Feet parallel to the short sides. Lift high. Forward fold. Walk your fingertips far in front of you and settle them into the mat. Palms arcing, armpits arcing, and then sink your hips behind your heels. Breathe. Stretch so much you can feel the space between every single one of your ribs. And then as you breathe, breathe into that space. Create that there's more space down through the side of your torso, through your armpits. Maybe you can walk your hands more forward, sink your hips more back. While you're here in this maximum stretch that you've created, take a deep breath in, fill it up, the balloon of your lungs as big as it goes, and sigh. Walk your hands back beneath you. Come on up to standing. Turn to face the front of your mat. Standing single leg forward fold, so some width between your feet and some length, where you have to work with the big toe of your front foot to get your hips square. If you're standing here and it's completely easy, there's no action happening. There has to be some work to get your hips square and keep your big toe pressing. Then take your arms behind you and create prayer hands, chest up, and concentrate on your big toe pressing into the mat and this right sitting bone reaching up and behind you, opposite of the big toe pressing down. Keep folding and breathing, and you'll feel the warmth of stretch behind the thigh of your right leg, and then radiating out to your big toe and sitting bone. You may end up softening your front knee. You may end up lifting your back heel. Keep your weight even in your 2 feet. One of the defaults we come to when our front thigh, the stretch starts to become a little too intense, is we shift the weight into the back foot. Keep it even in the front and the back leg. Now you've got a perfect setup here. Keep it. Just drop your left arm to the floor under your left shoulder. Keep your right hip pulling to the back of your mat and then twist. If you notice you've shifted your weight into your left arm, then you know that you've come out of your legs, that your hips have swayed to the right and your torso to the left. Want to keep it in a line here. So keep the strength and the weight in your legs. Soft front knee maybe. Now from your right hip to your chest, you stretch long. Unwind and hands to the floor, downward facing dog. Left side forward, triangle pose. Keep your breath flowing. Set it up. Steady breathing. Balanced action has to do not only with like a quality of tension and release energetically that you notice in your breathing, but it's in your body as well. Right now, we're building in the front leg from the big toe of the front foot pressing down to the sitting bone of the front leg, a tension, pulling those two parts apart. Keep on breathing. And from that tension, there's this ability then for the left low body, for you, as you breathe and press your leg, to be long, to be released, to have more space. See if you can tap into that. A lot of action in the leg to give you more expression in the torso. Couple more breaths. Last one. Come on up to standing. Face the long right side of your mat. Feet parallel to the short sides. Take your arms behind you. If you know that you get folded over and your arms go nowhere, hold on to a towel or a strap so you can fold and spill your bound hands overhead. Keep your breath flowing. It's hard to stay in attention or in presence for many of us. I know that was something A, I never knew existed, B, didn't know how to do, and C, took forever to have any progress in it. And now it's a forever practice. So while you're here, be aware of your feet pressing into the ground and how that gives you the opportunity to lift your hips in the air. How from that, you have the opportunity to let your head and your hands hang down low. From all of that, the opportunity is that all the space between each one of your ribs is just by gravity hanging open, and you can breathe into it. So it takes some imagination. Like, are we physically able to measure and say your ribs are all opened up? Well, not really. But we're creating something, and a quality of space. And yes, in time physically, you'll have some more mobility there when you're breathing. While you're in the pose, take a deep breath in. Exhale. Come on up to standing. Turn to face the front of your mat, standing single leg forward fold. You know all the things: width, length, hands in prayer position. Got to have the length and fold. When the pose is really short, we don't have any room to get the hamstring stretch. Breathe and fold. In our style of yoga, we're working in every way to build presence and access freedom. Keep your breath flowing. So physically, what that can mean is a lot of times we set up bigger foundations in poses. A big foundation is less stable. It's less controlled. It has you more on the edge of things physically. But that's the space where you discover growth. Keep your legs twisting triangle, right fingertips down to the block or floor. Now take some time here. Are you doing the usual little dance where you start to fling your hip to the side and lean into your shoulder? Don't do that. Stay centered in your 2 feet. So pull this hip back, Al, and take the shoulder under you. There. You'll need a little softness to your knee. Yeah. So stretch long in your back right ribs and twist. Long through your left hip to the notch of your neck and twist. One more time. Stretch. Now wring it out. Hands to the floor, downward facing dog. Once you get there, stretch back, hips back while your hands sink into the mat. Then high plank. When you're in the high plank, stay right there and press your heels back as hard as you can in the high plank. Press your heels back and look forward. Breathe. So heels way back. You might even drop your head for a second and peek. If you're peeking back and your heels are inside of your toes, open your heels like we've been doing. Now heels back, look forward, breathe. The whole front side of your body, long and lean. One more breath, look forward, lower all the way down to your belly, shoulders back. Keep your legs just like you have them now. Reach your arms out wide like airplane wings and lift up. So legs like they were in the push-up, toes turned under, legs active. Lift up just a little bit. Now press the backs of your hands up toward the ceiling. Just press them up. Once they're pressing up, keep them up high like they are. Circle them around until your thumbs are pointing up in front of you like a warrior 3. Anchor your feet. Thumbs to the ceiling. Circle them around. Backs of your hands to the ceiling here. Press the backs of your hands to the ceiling. Circle them around. Thumbs point up. Keep your legs anchored. Fingers to the ceiling, thumbs to the ceiling, circle them around, backs of the hands down, and come on down. Shake your hips from side to side. Second set, turn your toes under. Activate your legs. So your legs look like they do in a push-up. They feel like they feel in a push-up or a crescent lunge. Reach up to airplane pose. Toes anchored, backs of the hands lifting. Keep your toes anchored. You got it. So now you can open your heels here. Keep your toes where they are and just open your heels wider. You'll have more space in your low back. Fill it up with a strong belly. 3 times. Backs of the hands to the ceiling. Circle around. Thumbs to the ceiling. Keep pressing your heels back. Circle back around. 2 more. Thumbs up and circle around. Heels back. Last one. Circle around and come on down. Shake your hips from side to side. Bend your knees, reach back and hold your ankles for floor bow pose. Reach back, hold your ankles. We'll do 2 sets, kick back and rise up. 3 breaths in each one. Keep your breath flowing. You can peel the outer edge of your feet back and down so your big toe can press up. When you finish the 3rd breath, come on down and wave your feet from side to side. We'll take a second set. Keep on breathing. Maybe you've softened your breath here a little bit, but keep it flowing. Second set, hold your ankles, kick back and up. That's it. Press your big toe knuckle up into the air. Finish your last breath and come on down. Then hands on the floor beside your bottom ribs. Take your time. Upward facing dog. Slow and steady. Breathe in. Downward facing dog. Camel pose onto your knees. Hands on your hips. Press down with your knees. Rise up with your chest. Take your camel pose. Just keep breathing as you build the pose. Steady breath and build your camel pose. Knees down, chest up, so you can feel from your thighs, up your pelvis, up your belly, through your ribs to your chest, a lifting. Whole front of the body lifting. Next breath, come up out of this pose, hands to the floor, stretch into the downward facing dog. Here's your chance to make your whole body long and neutral from your fingertips to your hips. Bring your knees to the ground, and let's take a second set of camel pose. Right into it. Tail down in the back, down the backs of the thighs to the backs of your knees, while the whole front body lifts. Can you feel that cycle of your body energetically? We're going to keep building this cycle that from the front of your body, there's a lift, and the back of your body, there's a descending. See if you can feel the sense of yourself in the center of that cycle. One more breath. Lift up out of it. Hands to the floor, downward facing dog, and stretch. Jump through your hands, sit down, come onto your back, right away into your bridge pose. Set it up and go. Feet on the floor under your knees, press down and rise up. Keep your breath flowing. Even if you're taking a rest, keep your breath steady and flowing. Then tuck your shoulders under your body. Maybe interlace your hands or hold a strap to interlace them, and open up your chest a little bit more by straightening your elbows beneath you. Keep breathing and just imagine that you're hugging into a center line with your inner thighs, knees, inner calf muscles. Stay right here. Keep hugging in. Keep your feet where they are. Bring your right knee into your chest. Stay breathing. Reach your toes up to the ceiling. And imagine your inner thighs hugging into a center line. Keep on breathing. Hug in, Jen, with your knee especially. Right down here. Yes. Knee into your chest, foot on the floor. You've got the other side, other knee into your chest, toes to the ceiling. Steady breathing and hug. There you go. Can you find the center line? Hug in with your knee, in with your foot, knee to your chest, foot on the floor, and come down. Much needed rest. Knees side to side. Let's go for our wheel poses. Come up into bridge. Set your hands on the floor, under your shoulders and wide as can be. Press down, maybe come to the top of your head and set your hands wider, or press all the way up. First wheel pose. Bring your body into it and see what there is to see. Many of you could open your heels a little bit wider. Tuck your chin and come on down. Knees side to side. So now you know what you're working with. Get set up for the second one. Hands, feet on the floor. Press down, rise up. As you open your heels a little wider, you may also concentrate on pressing into the meat of your thumb. Come on down. Knees side to side. Let's do number 3. Press down. Here's a towel for your hands. That sweat's just going to get you every time. Press down and rise up. Now you've got a sense of yourself. You're able to start really working this. So what is available to you? The principle we're practicing is balanced action. We're coming to it through breath, drishti, and foundation. Tuck your chin and come on down. Knees side to side. Okay, let's get set up again. Press down and rise up. Now, balanced action includes the ability to let go, to let something be soft. Usually that makes a big difference here in this last part of class where we're doing big poses like this pose. Can you bring a letting go to the pose? Tuck your chin and come on down. So we're going to do 2 more. You've done effort. We've got that. What would ease give you access to in these last 2? Only you know that. Press down and rise up. All the way into the pose. Take a few breaths. You might like to sigh, explore the foundation that often gives you access to something new. Tuck your chin and come on down. Okay, we're going to have one more. If you have a wheel in your practice, there's no injury holding you back today. You've got one more. Here it is. Press down, rise up. All the way up. 5 breaths. Bend your knee page. Right there. Now hug, hug. Yep, hug. 4 more breaths. Keep hugging. 3. You'll feel your lower back opening. Hug page. 2 and 1. Come on down. Supta Badakanasana. Just be still here. Let yourself feel what's happening in your body, how it seems to you, what the space seems like to you. What's the emotion that's present or not? Maybe a sigh and soften your breath. Last one. Hug your knees into your chest. Dead bug pose. Hold the outer edges of your feet. Pull your knees back to your shoulders and just rock from side to side. And if there's any tension that got built up in your lower back, just rock it out. You're going to feel so good the rest of the day. 2 legs up into the air. You have a block, hug the block. Hug it between your ankles. You would put it right here between your ankles and legs straight up in the air and curl up and reach across your mat in front of you. Then while you're here, take a breath in. And as you exhale, sink your belly into the ground while you push the ball of your big toe to the ceiling. Now, every time you exhale, you're going to sink your belly more. There won't be any action in your head and your shoulders bobbing up and down. All we're doing is deepening the belly. You'll feel a little lift of your tailbone. Do that 5 times. Blow out. 1, 2. Keep the pit of your belly down. 3. No arcing in your lower back. 4, 5. Hug your knees into your chest. Rock back and forth and up to a sitting position. Back and forth, up to sitting. Put your hands on the ground behind you. Sit up tall. You won't need your block. You'll want your legs looking like they're hugging your block. And then you tap. Tap and see if you can do that. While you feel one side of your abdominals, release your leg and the other side steady. Can you do this without feeling your legs working? You just feel your abdominals, sending a leg away and drawing it back. Sending a leg away and drawing it back. Just like that. So it's not so much about the floor, it's sending the leg away and drawing it back. Sending it away, drawing it back. Okay, sit down, wrap your arms around your shins and drop your head like a seated child's pose and breathe. Roll onto your back. Right leg in front of you. Hover it. Left leg in the air. And you'll want to feel like they're hugging into a center line. So give yourself a little bit of self-feedback. Put your palm against your inner thigh and hug. And against the leg down there and hug. And get this sense of your legs hugging to the center line and curl up. You'll have to be sucking this thigh bone back. So sink the pit of your belly till you feel your whole lower back on the ground. There should be a lot of work just to this. Breathe. And as you exhale, just pulse a little bit and pulse. Never let the arc come into your lower back. You might want to soften your leg that's along the ground and put your heel on the ground if that helps you to access this better. Go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hug your knees. Switch sides. Left leg long, right leg in the air. So maybe I'm going to leave my heel, just rest so I can feel this. Maybe I'll even give myself feedback the whole time and put my left palm on my right inner thigh. Curl up. And then you pulse. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hug your knees. Rock back and forth and through to downward facing dog. Take right side pigeon pose. Steady breathing and set it up. create a balanced action between effort and ease. And so put that on your attention. A balanced effort between attention and softening of your attention. So your right thigh, it should be parallel to the right side of your mat. Your shin being parallel to the short front of your mat, that's the variable. Heel a little closer down into your torso, less intense. Shin more parallel to the front of the mat, more intense. We're setting ourselves up so that there is an area of intensity and focus in the body, brings us present. But overall, there's not a lot of effort needed. So it helps us to just have like a beacon for our attention. So while there's less physical effort, we can now get a little more practiced in being present without all that distraction drawing our attention. If you'd like, with your left hand, you can reach back for your left ankle and then fold forward with a bent back knee. You want to stay up in the middle of the pose. So from the bird's eye view, the two sides of your pelvis look level. You can fold down. You may have no fold left in you once you get your back ankle. That's okay. I'll bring some weight to your left. If you can, come off of your right hip a little bit. There you go. Feel that? You just need a tiny bit of support here. There. Okay, switch sides, other leg forward. Good setups. Keep your feet flexed at the ankles. If you find your foot feels like it's pointing, give it a flex. Your back foot's okay. I'm really looking at your front foot. There are definitely two distinct variations in your back leg. One's more active with your foot flexed. One is a little bit different with your foot pointed. You're more able to roll your right hip down to the ground. You can build that as you want to. And then if you want to add the back leg, come on up with your right hand, reach for your right ankle. Keep your hips square and centered, and then fold forward. You'll feel this stretching in your right thigh, front of your right hip. Take another breath, maybe have a sigh. Then sit on your left hip, swing your right leg around for double pigeon. Hips behind you and elevated an inch or so. For many people could be advantageous. How would you do that? Folding up a towel or your mat would give you a little hip elevation, but flexed ankles. No pressure on your knee, but you can press down on your thigh bone back near your hip. Could do it sitting up. Could do it like your legs are in number 4. For every variation, we'd ideally like to be able to sit up out of your back pelvis, out of your lower back. More feeling of the sitting bones on the ground or even being on the front edge of the sitting bones rather than the back edge. Just breathe and work with however your body has shown up for you this morning. Take yourself physically to an edge, and then you work with your breath. Take a breath with a sigh. And stay in the pose, but soften. Switch sides. Even while you're building the pose, you can consider how would there be balanced action in the pose? Well, what is there a lot of right now? Where does it feel a lot? Physically, where is there a lot in the pose? And then what would be opposite of that? Sometimes I can only find that in my own body with a sigh. Just the only place where I can get connected to the ease. The effort part does give you access to the ease. It's just sometimes for many of us, we're so connected to effort, we aren't connected anymore to ease. So it takes a little cultivating. The ability is always there. Intensifying is putting effort back at your thigh bone near your hip socket, not your knee. Yeah, that's something else, right? Just some pressure right down on those bones and roll them out. Try sigh. One more breath. Sit up tall, turn sideways on your mat so you're facing the long side, and open your feet up as wide as they'll go. Sitting on elevated hips can be helpful here for many people. A block in front of you, maybe. Maybe it's blocks behind you. Maybe it's blocks under your knees as you're working to be able to sit up tall. Toes, they point straight up to the ceiling. Maybe you start to fold. Just find the place where there's a challenge for you. Try to keep a long back and breathe. It's kind of, we do the standing forward fold to the one side of our mat where we put the fingertips on the ground and the palms and the armpits arc. This is pretty similar to that pose. In that pose, there was some kind of new access to all the space between your ribs, particularly in the back. Is there still some space to breathe in that area of your back in this particular expression of the shape? Just breath by breath, creating space and presence. Try a sigh in this pose. What else does it give you access to? Maybe you can walk your fingers more away from you. Press your heels more away from you. Perhaps your feet are someplace you haven't put your attention yet in the pose, and we needed our feet in every pose today. So maybe put some attention into your feet. If I look at mine, they're doing what I had to correct the whole time. My heels are more in and my toes out. If I could get my heels more out and my toes more in, that would be interesting and new. And that's, there we go, against the general pattern my feet set up. All right, come on up. Keep your right leg straight, bend your left leg, left hand to your right baby toe and stretch. A seated single leg forward fold. This is one of my favorite poses. So opposite hand. So I've got my right leg out, so my left hand to my right baby toe. My right hand, I like to rest the back of my hand on the back of my pelvis, and then just breathe into your left back body or anywhere you experience the pose as interesting. Let your outer ankle fold. For a lot of us, it gets forced and stiff like this. Can you let it fold? Yeah, a lot of good feet there. Are you still breathing? Switch sides. Left leg long, hold your right baby toe, back of your left hand on your lower back. I don't know, for most of my life, I really appreciated that this was stretching the hamstring of my long straight leg. But here in recent years, I'm really appreciating how my whole back body, the whole back of my torso has been so much more interesting in practice and getting space back there, mobility, breath, a liveliness. For some reason, I find when I practice with my attention to opening that unconscious backside of my body, I find that's the access point for me to have more presence in the rest of life. When stuff gets tough, that seems to be, if I can breathe into that area, where I discover the spaces where I check out of those challenging situations or hide in them or can't find my own words or my own space or place. If I can just breathe into that area, I have more presence in a challenging moment. And I know one day that's going to become a pattern that's automatic. I won't have to keep making it happen. I'll have access to it all the time. That's the kind of growth and healing your practice can give you. Now, 2 legs in front of you, seated forward fold. At first, it's going to be bent knees. For many people, sitting bones back, we're looking for the tall back. The feet that look like they're standing straight up, pointing straight up and down. You might even work with a sense of moving your heels a little wide here. That doesn't look like that. It looks like the big toe pointing forward. And just see what kind of space you can get. Can you lengthen as long as possible through these sides and feel yourself breathe into your back bottom ribs? Get all that space. Side ribs, back ribs. Then you can straighten your legs, drop your chin, and pull your belly to your spine in a seated ragdoll pose. And you'll feel it more in the surface from your sitting bones around the back of your body and your skull to your eyebrows. Let that whole back surface just be soft. Then come rolling up to sitting, lean back, palms on the ground, point your toes, maybe hug your block, press down, lift up, reverse plank pose. Try to put your toes on the ground if you can. Now that's the flexibility in the ankles and bone structure thing, so may not quite come together, but hug your ankles and your inner knees and your inner thighs to your center line. Let your palms sink down into the mat so your chest can move up to the ceiling, and then sit down. Hands like a C, one around each side of your pelvis. Bring your forearms to the ground. Press your heels away from you, and with your hands, press your hips towards your heels. Then with all that pressing into your hips and into your heels, stretch the sides of your torso really long. Then press your elbows down into the ground and your chest can lift to the ceiling so you can open up your chest into a fish pose and breathe here. A lot of action. You got it. So length first and then chest opening, breath. Breathe and expand your chest and upper back. One more breath in, tuck your chin as you exhale and roll onto your flat back. Once you're on your flat back, roll your feet overhead into plow pose. Once you do get to the plow, tuck your shoulders under your body and make a balance stand with your upper arm from elbow to shoulder, hands to your lower back. Get really set here. You'll have to move your shoulders to your back, to the mat. When you do feel like you have a really sturdy base, get a lot of stretching across the back of your neck. We're going to keep a nice inward into the body curve in the neck. Feel all that's good? Legs straight up in the air for shoulder stand. Now take a few breaths to just play with the pose to get to a steady place. To develop that you have a place for your gaze. And then to let your body move into a space of stillness, different from just a forced stillness. It may take a little more movement for you than it might for your neighbor, and that's fine. Just let your body discover stillness. It's probably not where you would force it anyway. Now just keep your gaze and your steady breathing. That's all there is to do right now. Steady gaze, steady breathing. Stay right here. One more breath. Bring your feet overhead to plow pose. Keep your hands supporting your lower back. If you can, if your toes are on the ground, stay in your plow. If your toes are on the ground, open your heels wider to the sides of your mat, just your heels. See how that feels in your lower back. Then you have your hands on your back. Put your palms on the ground now. Keep your feet overhead for as long as possible and roll out of this pose one bone at a time. Put one bone of your spine down and stretch, and then another bone of your spine down and stretch. Partway through, take a sigh and relax your shoulders again. Anchor and then roll. You'll feel your abdominal muscles pinning the bone you just put down on the mat to the ground. Once you're onto your whole flat back, you can hug your knees into your chest. Drop your knees to the left and look to the right. Take a breath in, have a sigh and a softening. Switch sides. Come to the center, hug your knees into your chest, even bring your forehead to your knees. Somehow I always just feel like this releases the skin on my back. And then soup to Badakanasana. Soles of your feet together on the ground, knees out wide. And organize your bones. So for me, that means getting my pelvis in a more neutral position. It tends to be that there's too much of an arch in my lower back. Maybe yours is like that. Maybe it's different. Just organize your bones. Hip bones, shoulders, arms. In studio here, you have a cold eye towel near your mat, right or left. You're welcome to use that. And then stretch your legs out long and wide. Arms wide with your palms facing up to the ceiling. Just make sure even your neck is nice and long. Once you feel like your body's pretty well organized, take a deep breath in. Open up your mouth and sigh. And then if there's any other part of your body that physically just needs a little more organization, take care of that. And if you need another sigh, take another sigh. And give yourself access to deep rest. The balanced action here is between the over efforting of your brain, lots of thinking, and then the ease of just being. Anytime you need to, take a sigh and let yourself soften. Now, you'll never stop your brain. It has a job to do and it does it well. However, that's different than your access to just be. So soften. Every now and then, you might find your muscles moving or your skin sensing or your brain working. And anytime you want to, you can again just soften. The poses that come at the end of the practice come at the end because you have to be worn out a lot of times. Muscular exhaustion, mental exhaustion. So this one's no exception. You've done the work. Let your body move through its last distractions, last little twitch of a muscle. Let your breath soften. And if you find it's pretty normal for your body to come to another stage of busyness, potentially take another sigh and let yourself go. Let yourself go deeper. Take a breath in and exhale through your mouth. Another inhale. This time, as you exhale, squeeze your fingers and your toes and anchor this space, this feeling, this experience by squeezing your hands and toes. Then hug your knees into your chest. Roll to your side. Bring yourself up into a sitting position. Get comfortable. When you inhale, you can sweep your arms overhead and just stretch the sides of your body up tall. And exhale, bring your hands into prayer position at the center of your chest and pause here, maybe with closed eyes. Take a moment to feel your feeling, experiencing what you're experiencing in your body and your experience of the practice and of yourself right now, how it is. And see if there is an intention for you to set for the rest of this day. So when you put anything after the statement, I am, it's a powerful statement of creation. So if you had an intention for the rest of the day, how you'll be for yourself, and for other people, it would come from this declaration. Three times we'll chant Om together. Take a deep breath in. Bring your thumb knuckles to the center of your forehead and take a deep breath in. Exhale. Namaste. Good work. Thank you all for being here on a Sunday morning and joining together. Of course, we have restorative next. Take everything out of the room so we can mop it all up and be ready for the restorative class if you're coming to that. Becky, the computer tells me it's the anniversary of your first class ever. So your annual anniversary. Yes. Happy anniversary. All right. Have a great rest of the day. It's a pleasure to have been here with you this morning.